Okay, so welcome everybody to another Adventure webinar. My name is Andy Stark. I'm the VP of Adventure North America, and with me today is our CEO, Lucas Bauer.
Good afternoon and welcome.
So Lucas used to be a CTO back in the days, and he's still a real tech geek as far as I'm concerned, and he knows so much about technology, and I tend to pick his brain about it frequently. So I myself, I'm not a techie, but technology is obviously a very, very important topic. And especially blockchain, which is today's topic, has become more and more important lately. And I've myself spent some time reading blogs, articles, I watched some stuff on YouTube, and I'm getting there. I'm getting the basics, but there's still so many unanswered questions. And this is why today we have set up our webinar more like an actual interview. So me and the audience, we're looking for more answers, and you better make sure to give them to us, Lucas. So just building a little bit of pressure here. So before we start, we're very excited you all joined for this interesting topic today, and we'll get into it in just a second. But before we start, just a few things for you to know. So there will be a PDF of our slide deck that you'll be able to download, as well as a recording of this webinar. So if you liked it and want to listen to it again after or share it with somebody, please feel free and go ahead. But now let's get into it. So today's official title is Blockchain Demystified. And blockchain is receiving a lot of attention and is making inroads into the enterprise space. But what is blockchain exactly, and why is it so important? So let's start demystifying it. Are you ready, Lucas?
I'm ready.
Okay. So, yeah, as I said, first question, what is blockchain? Where does it come from? And why do we even have to care about it?
It's a great question, Andy. You may have heard of Bitcoin, which is the famous or infamous cryptocurrency that appeared on the scene around 2009. Blockchain is the technical foundation for the Bitcoin cryptocurrency. Its origins are a bit shadowy. And initially, at least, it was something that was used by hackers, and certainly not the enterprise side of the internet. But increasingly, it's become adopted in the enterprise space. And why is it important? Because it's a really disruptive technology. It offers a new way to do things on the internet, and has lots of implications across lots of industries.
Okay, that's great. And I mean, I got to be honest, the first time I came across blockchain was exactly when I read about Bitcoin. And, you know, its reputation, I read a lot about, you know, legal stuff and Bitcoin used for things that maybe shouldn't be used for. And I think there's so much confusion and also misunderstanding out there. Why do you think that is?
Well, you're exactly right. You know, Bitcoin came out of kind of the hacker community. And so first of all, a lot of the people who talk about Bitcoin are techs. They use a lot of technical language. They talk about how Bitcoin works. They get really, really technical, really, really fast, and they tend to lose people who are not technical. So that creates a lot of confusion, a lot of distrust around the protocol. But fundamentally, Bitcoin is a protocol. It's a piece of technology that's like any other, like .NET or Java. So it isn't good or evil by itself. It's how you use it, and whether or not you follow best practice, whether you build your solution in a robust and secure way. That's what makes the difference between a secure and insecure Bitcoin implementation, and you know, the use case is what makes it good or evil, I suppose.
Oh, that's great, because I think that is probably the most misunderstood thing, that it's actually technology that you can use. So when I did my research, there were two major terms that always popped up. One was the Internet of Value, and the other one is the what was distributed ledger. What are those two things?
Great questions, Andy. So what is the Internet of Value? You think about the way the Internet works from its invention, I suppose, until the present day. If I want to send you a picture of my little girl, or if I want to send you a PDF of my annual report, easy for me to do that with the Internet. But the key thing to keep in mind is, in almost every case, when I send you information, I keep a copy of it myself, you know, whether it's an email or an image or a document. That's fine when it comes to exchanging information with other people. but it doesn't allow us to exchange value. So I can't send you $5 and still have $5 myself. That doesn't make any sense.
But it would be great.
It would be great. So until blockchain, it wasn't really a robust protocol that allowed us to exchange value. So the way blockchain works is it's a ledger. So if I send you $5, I no longer have $5. I have a debit against my blockchain account, and you get a credit. And then if you send that $5 along to someone else, you are debited and they are credited. So that piece of value can only exist in one place at one time across a blockchain network. And that's a big idea. The second thing you asked me about was the distributed ledger. That's another really fundamentally different thing about blockchain. So if you look at the way financial institutions work now, the whole idea is that we have a bank or we have a stock exchange. We have some central authority that controls the flow of transactions, and we place our trust in them due to their history and their size and lots of other attributes that they may have. With blockchain, the whole idea of distributing transactions is different. It's completely distributed. So the copy of the ledger, the list of credits and debits, is shared across the entire blockchain network. Security is achieved through transparency. So every member of the blockchain network needs to kind of vote in a transaction for it to be propagated across the ledger. So that means that everyone gets to see what's going on. As a group, the blockchain network gets to agree or disagree on whether transactions are in or out. And the whole system is distributed. This is a key thing. So even if part of a blockchain network broke down, the rest of it would still work. There's no single point of failure. There's no bank. That's a very different way of managing transactions than the traditional approach.
Okay, I get that. So I think for from theoretical perspective, that makes total sense. I think really when I'm trying to understand it, what helped me a lot was actual examples. And one of those real-world applications that I came across was often something called a smart contract. So could you tell me a little bit more about what those contracts are and why they're so special?
Absolutely. Smart contracts are amazing. So this is one of the great examples of why blockchain is so powerful. So blockchain isn't just a way to exchange value on the internet, and it's not just a distributed system. You can build smarts into it. You can program it. You can build logic into it. So a smart contract is exactly that. So let's say that you and I open an ice cream shop, and every week, yeah, that sounds like a good job to me. Every week we need to order milk and sugar and chocolate and eggs to make our ice cream. And we would buy those supplies from a variety of different vendors that we deal with on a regular basis. But their prices might go up and down, and they may or may not have what we need each given week. So we can create a smart contract that sets some criteria. It says, we won't pay any more or less for chocolate. We won't pay any more than this for chocolate. You need to have this much in stock. And if these criteria are met, the smart contract executes itself automatically. And all the debits and credits that are associated with that contract happen automatically. That means there's no human involvement. The system just buys what it needs from the vendor who's offering it at the best rate automatically. And all the procurement is automated. That's really cool.
That's really cool, definitely. So also while I did my research and also while I looked at smart contracts, another thing that I came across is its connection or its combination with the Internet of Things. So could you tell me a little bit about why blockchain is a great technology when it comes to IoT and what the benefits are?
Absolutely. So there's a couple of different benefits. First of all, if you think about the Internet of Things, it's actually enormous in scale. So the Internet of People is big, and we think of billions of people across the earth who access information on the Internet. The Internet of Things is way, way bigger. You think that every component in every system has a sensor, and then you add all those together. It dwarfs the human Internet. It's 10 or hundreds of times bigger. So one of the key benefits of blockchain is the fact that it is a distributed technology. And you can stack little blockchain networks inside bigger blockchain networks. Let me give you a specific example of how that might work. So think of an airplane. airplane's got jet engines. Inside each jet engine, there are lots of components. There might be a turbine, hydraulics, a motor, things like that. Each one of those elements of the engine might have a sensor in it that produces data each time the airplane flies. So each engine could be a little mini blockchain network. Okay? But then a plane usually has more than one engine. It might have 4 engines. So we can stack those little mini blockchain networks together to get a view of the performance of all the engines. Then there might be electronics and the air pressure system and hydraulics that are in the fuselage and the navigation. Also, all these systems also might have sensors. We can aggregate their data together and get a picture of the whole plane. Then we can go even bigger. We can take a picture of the plane and aggregate it together with data from other planes to look at the performance of the whole fleet. So the really cool idea here is that we start with something really simple. We're just looking at the performance of a turbine in the engine, and then we can kind of drill up or drill down from that data across a big, big set of information. And we set up one rule, so we set up a smart contract for engine performance for wear and tear, which we track, and we say, after this airplane turbine exceeds this many revolutions or this many miles flown, it needs to be maintained. We can look at that data across our whole fleet, and it's very simple, it's very consistent to implement. That's a big idea.
That is great, because it actually brings me to my next questions, or my next set of questions. And I myself, I have a lot of clients in the manufacturing space, and what I'm hearing you just told us is really that it's applicable way beyond financial services, that it's actually not limited at all to this industry. So when I'm from different industries, how do I start, or where do I start to identify a win or potential use case for blockchain technology?
That's an excellent question. Let me start with financial services, because the most obvious use case is digital money. For those of you on the webinar in financial services, you probably know that the blockchain technology has caused a fair bit of angst among the industry. But there's also now people coming around and seeing it as an opportunity as well. Why is it causing angst? Because a lot of financial institutions make their money through services and fees associated with their kind of central point of control. So blockchain threatens that central point of control with its decentralized approach to the same problem. But whether you like it or not, innovation is going on in the blockchain space, and it will be a part of the financial services picture in the future. In fact, blockchain is becoming a trading platform in and of itself. People are actually exchanging value in exchanges around the world, and then the total amount that's being exchanged amounts to billions of dollars per year. So you can actually invest in blockchain and make some pretty good money, just like the stock market. There's a company out there called the Lawnmower Index. I don't know why they've chosen that name, but they've created a blockchain index of various different blockchain asset classes, and it's just like the NASDAQ or other stock market indices. It looks at the performance of this group of assets, and you can invest in that index. Check it out online. It's really interesting, and I think it's kind of a view into what the future will look like. So that's financial services.
Manufacturing?
Manufacturing, okay. You might not be making a connection between blockchain and manufacturing, but there's 2 key things that we can look at with manufacturing. A lot of things, actually. Let me just give you a couple of examples. The first, obviously, is smart contracts. So imagine you're running a production floor and you're building boilers. So you need steel, you need finishing materials, and you need coatings and so on, maybe some plastics, and you churn through those at a variable rate depending on how busy or not busy your manufacturing operation is. So what if you had smart contracts set up with your vendors that were operated by the machines themselves? So when a machine needed more material, they actually order it on its own, directly from a vendor, the one who's offering the best price, just in time when it needed it for delivery. That's really, really cool, and it's already happening. It sounds like science fiction, but it's actually being done out there. We've even done it for some of our own clients. The other thing that you can use blockchain for is tracking things where you kind of have a credit and debit sort of scenario. So one thing that doesn't seem obvious, but it's really important, is occupational health and safety. So you kind of have a baseline of performance that you need to meet. You know, if you screw up on your manufacturing floor and your oil pressure is too high in a machine, or temperature is too hot, or things are in a kind of a risk area, then you start to debit from your kind of budget of safety. And blockchain is a really good way to track that and make sure that you're compliant on the manufacturing floor.
Great. So next one is transportation logistics. And from what I understood, one of the main problems or issues or challenges in this industry is, making sure where a parcel or any object is within the supply chain, and it must not appear, or it shouldn't appear twice at different stages. So would blockchain be a technology to solve that?
You've hit the nail on the head, Andy. I swear we didn't rehearse this. The thing about that's exactly right. If I send my grandma a cake in the mail, that there's only one cake, and it can only be in one place at one time. So this Internet of Value, this idea that this thing moves from point A to point B, and you either have it or you don't. Blockchain is perfect for that. So blockchain stands to revolutionize transportation and logistics, because using smart contracts, you can automate the flow of packages or deliverables along the supply chain. Because in the example I gave, sending my grandma a cake, it might go through one carrier if I want to leave my office. It might go through several before it gets to her house out in the country, and over the river and through the woods. The cool thing about blockchain is it can automate the flow of that package from different carriers transparently, eliminate paperwork, eliminate the ability for human error, and make it really clean, really simple. And create customer value by providing transparency and visibility across every step of that package's movement.
Great. I'm happy I seem to get that right. So thanks. Are there any other industries or applications that you want to share or you think are worth mentioning?
There are so many, but I think really where we are in the industry is we're at a point, like you and I talk about all the time. We're in the Wild West when it comes to innovation. There's so much change happening in business. There are so many opportunities for forward-thinking innovators to create new revenue streams. So let me give you one example that I think is pretty cool, which is in marketing of all places. So one of the things marketers like is loyalty programs. A loyalty program, what is it? It's tracking kind of credits and debits around your usage of a product or service. Blockchain is ideally suited to managing loyalty programs, and it also glues really well together with other cloud technologies. So it's a great way for marketers to track customer behavior, to reward them, and also to link those insights together with other marketing insights to drive better sales and performance in the business. It's amazing.
You really seem to know your stuff. As I said, I didn't make any false promises, I guess. So that was really great. Thank you for all those insights. So if I wanted to recap what we've just gone through, so there's basically three things that I wrote down while we had this chat. So the first idea was the Internet of Value, and the second idea was, which I actually found even more interesting, was the idea of a distributed and decentralized system. So both when it comes to ownership and scalability. And of course, a major insight for me, once again, the fact that there's really an application outside of the financial services industry. It's something that every industry should take a look at and can create or benefit from. Is that, like, if I sum this up, is that correct?
That's absolutely right. Yeah, I think the key takeaways from this are exactly that. Any application where there's an exchange of value. I give you something and I no longer have it. Blockchain it may be well suited for that use case. And also, when you're dealing with scale, or when you need something that needs to be kind of failure-proof, where if individual pieces of your network break, you still can be up and running. That's another important use case. Blockchain can be very robust in those scenarios.
That's great. So I guess one of the next big questions for everyone here today listening to us, but also everyone out there in the industry is like, okay, now I know that, but what do I actually do with it, and what is the next step? So there's two things that I thought of, and there's actually those two things that I come across in the news and just in all of the industries. One is obviously you find a partner or you find an advisor, and the other one, which is very, very popular right now amongst banks and insurances, obviously partnering up with startups, fintechs to be precise in that context. So what do you think of those two options?
Absolutely great option. So Adventure, for example, is a fantastic advisor in this space. We have a lot of blockchain experience through our own portfolio of startups that we manage, and we help clients across different industry verticals find blockchain applications for their business and get them up and running with a minimum viable product, a working idea. If you really want to get to market quick, the other thing you can do is partner with a startup. We also have a kind of a startup matchmaking service where we can find a startup who has technology that suits your business case. And the great thing about that is the startup gets something they need, which is customers, some revenue, some visibility in the marketplace, some reference customers, and you get a technology really quickly. You get kind of a working solution instead of having to build it yourself from the ground up. So I think one or the other or both are great ways for businesses to get their toe in the water quickly without taking a lot of risk.
That's great. So you're actually looking for some POC or proof of concept and trying to get that on the road. That's great. So yeah, I think one last stop we have to make, or I would like to make, is we had really a great turnout today with lots of people and lots of them having great questions. I actually had a very, very hard time picking just 5. So of course we're going to answer all of them, but here are 5 that I would like to go through with you. And the first one is, can blockchain be used for marketing? You already went into this a little bit, but maybe you can comment on that one more time, maybe a little broader.
Sure. The answer is absolutely yes. So there's a number of ways in marketing that there's an exchange of value that occurs all the time. So one example that I gave was the loyalty program. Another example is syndicating ads. If you're doing ads online, you're using a programmatic ad network or AdWords or other networks. But right now, a lot of those networks are proprietary. They're kind of closed ecosystems. But what if they weren't? What if they were blockchain-based? They use smart contracts, and you set the criteria for your advertising, the demographics, the price that you wanted to sell it for, and the whole system automatically just found the best channels and the best performance for your ad across the whole ecosystem. That's, I think, something that you're going to see in the next 12 to 24 months.
That's great. Thank you. And the second question, why I picked this one, is I see this a lot, not to with regard to blockchain, but this on-premise, off-premise, cloud, where's my product? And so what about blockchain? Can you use it with an on-premise product?
Absolutely. So remember that blockchain is a technology, and there are a number of players out there who have implemented open source blockchain development stacks for .NET, for Java, and for other programming languages across a whole different range of operating systems, Microsoft, Unix, Linux, and other major players. You probably heard of Microsoft. They've done something called blockchain as a service. They've used a protocol called Ripple, which is also a development stack, and they've made that a part of their Azure cloud so that you can plug blockchain into the rest of your Microsoft ecosystem very, very easily with low cost, low risk, all backed by the Microsoft name.
Interesting. Thank you. So the third one I actually think we covered along the way, very detailed. So let's get to the fourth one right away. Can you use blockchain for futures market clearing?
So I'm not an expert in this area. I believe so. This is exactly what a smart contract is good at. So, you've got a set of criteria that need to be met, and you've got an exchange, and it's kind of a pass-fail sort of question. So in theory, yes. I think the big question there is regulation and acceptance across the futures market. In order for this to work, both the buyer and the seller would need to be using the blockchain technology.
Thank you. The last one is actually something that should have been one of my questions, to be honest, I guess, but I'm happy it came up from the people who joined us today. What is the biggest threat to blockchain?
I think the biggest threat to blockchain is probably regulation. There's still a lot of fear about it, and some of the entrenched players in financial services and other industries see it as an existential threat. So there may be some regulatory pressures in the future that limit blockchain's applications in certain areas, like actual exchange of real cash on the internet. But I think that's its biggest threat. But the other thing is the opportunity out there. Let's keep an open mind. Blockchain is a very powerful idea, and if you look at what its possibilities are, the light bulb may go off with some of the people on this call. You know your business, you know what you do every day, and if you are the first mover, if you get out in front of somebody else, if you find an application for the blockchain technology that allows you to move faster, more cheaply, more effectively, that creates a better customer experience, then you could kind of become the top dog in your business segment, and that's a great position to be in. So don't be afraid of it, embrace it, be an early mover, try something out, take a risk, and get started.
Perfect. Great. Thank you very, very much, Lucas. I appreciate you taking the time. I know you're super busy always, but yeah, I think I'm very thankful, I guess the audience as well, but I also would like to thank everybody who took part today. And it's Thursday, so only one more day until the weekend, so I think it's safe to say have a great weekend already, and we're looking forward to seeing you next time. If you have questions or feedback, we'll be sending out a survey after the webinar, and any questions, feel free to send them to webinars@adventure.com. And yeah, we'll look forward to get in touch with you, and yeah, have a great day.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great day and a great weekend.